Norcross, Georgia, July 26, 2022. A warm evening in a quiet suburb, 16-year-old Susana Morales sends a text to her mom. I'm on my way home. But Susana never walks through that door. What follows is a family's nightmare, a town's growing unease, and the unraveling of a case that leads straight into the dark heart of power. This is the story of Susana Morales, a young girl who vanished without a trace, and whose truth would shake the very system meant to protect her. It started out like any other teenage summer night. Susana hanging with friends, laughter, pictures, TikToks. Then, a text from mom, "Come home, mija," and Susana left, alone. What was supposed to be a 10-minute walk turned into a 10-month mystery. Her phone pinged one final time. Off Singleton Road, then silence. But technology never lies. That last signal showed something chilling. Susana had stopped walking. She was moving, at 40 miles per hour. The GPS data told a terrifying truth. 1 minute, Susana's walking. The next, she's speeding away in a vehicle. She never answered another text. Her phone buzzed one last time, and then went dark. Dead battery? Or something? Far more sinister? And as her signal disappeared, so did she. She was a sister, a daughter, a dreamer. Susana Morales lit up rooms with her smile and lived for music. She wanted to be a singer, to take care of her mom, to dance under stage lights, not vanish into the shadows. She wasn't a runaway. She wasn't careless. She was 16, and she deserved a future. Within hours, panic turned into search. Police, drones, dogs, but no Susana. Not a sock, not a shoe, not a phone. It was as if the forest had swallowed her whole. One officer whispered it under his breath. She's gone off the grid. But what kind of force makes a teenager vanish? They say if you don't find a missing person in the first 48 hours, your chances of finding them alive are cut in half. Detectives worked day and night. They interviewed friends, neighbors. They traced her route again and again. But every lead hit a wall. It wasn't just that Susana was missing. It was that she had vanished, as if someone had made sure she wouldn't be found.
Susana was with, we made a point to go out and interview them in detail.
You ever ran away before?
Was she acting any different or unusual, or?
No, she was just act like everything was just cool.
Every door was a question. Did you see her? Was she here? One neighbor thought she heard something. Another saw a car speed off. And then there was the security camera, capturing Susana, walking for the very last time. No screams, no chase, just quiet, and then nothing. Then came the rumor. A red-haired girl, seen near Susana, tagged in a post. Was she a friend, a stranger, or a distraction? The more police questioned teens, the more confusion spread. Every story had a new version, and everyone had something to hide. 6 months, no phone, no sign, until a man, wandering off Highway 316, stumbled on something. Bones, scattered, weathered, no clothes, no wallet, just silence and death. The bones were young, 17 maybe, fingernails with black polish, teeth, some filled, some missing. The match wasn't instant, but when they found the dental records and saw tooth number 14 with the same silver cap, the truth hit like a train. This wasn't a runaway. This was Susana Morales, and she was dead. 30 yards from where Susana's bones lay, something else was hiding in the grass. A gun, dirt-stained, abandoned, but not forgotten. It had a name, a serial number, and that number told detectives this was no random weapon. It was reported stolen. One day after Susana disappeared from the same apartment complex where she was last seen alive. His name was Miles Bryant, 22 years old, courtesy officer. He lived and worked at Windcake Village, the last place Susana Morales was ever seen. And the gun? It was his. Reported stolen, just hours after she vanished. He said it was taken from his car, but something didn't add up. Because who reports a stolen gun, but doesn't care if it's found? He wasn't a stranger to suspicion. In 2018, a woman said she woke to the sound of her bedroom window creaking open. Outside, where was her neighbor, Miles Bryant. He said he just came to ask about homework. 5 months before Susana went missing, he allegedly tried to break into another woman's home. Face covered, hood up. She told police, but no charges were filed. A system missed him. A predator slipped through. Detectives got a warrant for Bryant's phone. And what they saw, that made their blood run cold. At the exact time Susana vanished, his phone was there. At 1 a.m., 3 hours after she went missing, he was deep in the woods, where her body was found, where his gun was dropped. The phone never lies. They brought him in, not as a suspect, but as a witness. At first, Miles Bryant was calm, cool, joking, but as questions got sharper, his answers cracked. He claimed he was driving, that his girlfriend had chased him, that he never left the road. But the phone said otherwise, and his heartbeat wasn't lying either. The FBI had the evidence, a motive, a poison, a body. But there was one thing they didn't have, a suspect, because Yazid Essa was protected by a wall of international law. Lebanon didn't extradite its citizens. And Yazid, he had a Lebanese passport and a lifetime of freedom. Rosie was 6 feet under. He was 6,000 miles away, untouchable. America wasn't done. The Department of Justice turned up the heat. Senators called it a disgrace. FBI agents flew to Lebanon. They met with judges, ministers, ambassadors. They said, "We don't care if he's Lebanese. He murdered an American woman." But Lebanon wouldn't budge. To them, he was one of their own. And America was just a voice yelling across the sea. While governments argued, Rosie's children grew up without a mother. Birthdays passed, holidays came and went, and still, no justice. Her brother Daniel lit candles every year. He promised her 2 kids. One day we'll get him back. But promises don't bring back mothers. And justice delayed can sometimes feel like justice denied. He'd played it perfectly for months. No bank accounts, no credit cards, just cash, charm, and silence. But arrogance makes men sloppy. One call to the wrong person, one insult to the wrong ally, and suddenly someone flipped. A Lebanese informant called the police. "I know where he is, and I'll tell you, for the right price." It was the one mistake Yazid Essa didn't plan for. On October 7th, 2006, Yazid Essa's luck finally ran out. Lebanese police, tipped off and armed with U.S. pressure, moved in. No sirens, no warning, just a knock. And then, handcuffs. He said nothing, didn't struggle, didn't blink. But deep down he knew his time in paradise had ended, and the next chapter would be written in chains. When a protector becomes a predator, the system is forced to look inward. Miles Bryant's arrest wasn't just shocking, it was radioactive. Inside the Doraville Police Department, files were reopened, procedures were rewritten, and officers, good officers, asked themselves, how did we miss this? How did we let him in? In Georgia, across the country, mothers and daughters stood together. Not just for her, but for all the girls who vanished and were never found. They marched, they shouted, they named names, and they reminded the world that silence has never saved anyone. The signs were there, a trespassing charge, a harassment complaint, a woman who said she woke to find him at her window. But time and time again, his badge outshined his behavior. The system didn't break. It blinked, and in that blink, a girl disappeared. Susana Morales never made it to her 17th birthday, but her story became a lesson, a warning, a call to every girl who's ever felt unsafe walking home. In classrooms, they say her name. In self-defense workshops, they carry her memory. And in every girl who chooses to speak up, Susana's voice lives on. What if she had taken a different route? What if the system had caught him sooner? What if someone, anyone, had stopped him? What ifs can't bring her back? But they haunt the nights of those who tried. Because Susana Morales didn't just die, she was taken. And now her story belongs to all of us. To remember, to carry, and to promise. We'll do better. The cameras left, the crowd thinned, but the family stayed behind. Not in the courthouse, in the silence. Because even when the system works, it cannot erase a loss this deep. Guilt was proven. Justice delivered. But what do you do with justice when your daughter never comes home? Susana didn't know she would become a symbol, but the girls who watched her story unfold didn't forget. They walked in her footsteps but refused to walk in her silence. They spoke up, held each other tighter, asked questions that adults were too afraid to ask, because Susana wasn't just mourned, she was mobilized. This wasn't the first time. There were calls, reports, allegations that were shrugged off because he wore a uniform. The signs were there, but when authority protects itself, girls pay the price, and in this case, one girl paid everything. Time moved on, but her name never faded on murals, on laws, on the lips of every girl who chooses not to walk alone. They say darkness wins when good people do nothing. But in Norcross, a girl went missing, and a community found its voice. She is gone, but her light stayed. The trial was over, but the reckoning had just begun. Miles Bryant wasn't just a criminal, he was a cop, and that shook the ground beneath every department across the country. How did he pass the background checks? Why were complaints buried? The badge is supposed to protect, but when it shields the wrong man, the system becomes the accomplice. He was trained to spot danger. Instead, he became it. He watched her, followed her, and when the time came, he acted. Miles Bryant's profile read like a storm warning. Narcissism, obsession, boundary violations. But the signs weren't just missed. They were dismissed, and Susana paid the price. Susana was one girl, but her story became many. Girls in other cities, other states, other systems that didn't listen fast enough. True crime podcasts lit up. TikTok turned her face into a movement. Because deep down, every young woman knew, it could have been me. Out of grief came education. Out of silence came voice. Schools across Georgia began teaching more than math. They taught girls how to speak up, how to fight back, how to leave a party with a plan, and come home with their life. We shouldn't have to teach them these things, but until the world changes, we do. We told her story in 40 parts, but for her family, the chapter never ends. The door remains cracked open. The chair at dinner stays empty. And every night, a mother whispers a name into the dark, hoping it echoes into something brighter. Susana Morales is gone, but not lost, not forgotten, because now she belongs to all of us. On February 24th, 2005, Rosemary Essa left her house like any other day, a devoted wife, a mother of two, a woman simply heading to the movies with her sister. She never arrived. Just 10 minutes after she left her driveway, she was found slumped over her steering wheel, vomiting, struggling to breathe. Her eyes wide open, locked in the silent terror. Paramedics rushed to the scene, but this wasn't a crash that killed her. There were no broken bones, no trauma. What happened to Rosemary Essa wasn't fate. It was something far darker. Inside Hillcrest Hospital, the ER team fought to save her, a healthy 38-year-old woman, now barely clinging to life. She wasn't bleeding. There was no head trauma. But her heart, it was stuttering, failing. Her breathing was shallow. Her pupils dilated. They pumped her with epinephrine, inserted tubes. Nothing worked. It was as if her body had decided to shut down, all at once. Doctors were left with one terrifying question. How does a woman with no injuries just die? While Rosie's heart was failing in the ER, her husband, Dr. Yezid Essa, waited outside, not crying, not pacing, just still. Then came the text, sent to friends, family, colleagues. I just wanted to let you know that Rosie died yesterday in a minor car accident. She will be missed. No tears, no exclamation marks, no disbelief. The calmness wasn't concern, it was calculation. And it was the first crack in the mask of a man who had spent his life pretending to be perfect. Hours before she died, Yezid handed Rosie a pill.